Today we have a Toastmaster mini box fan. And I was thinking about they build these things at 14 inches on the actual box itself. We don't have the box for this one, but we have a box for the the Edison variant with the translucent blades, which is billed as a 14-inch box fan. Which I don't know, is it 12-inch, 14-inch, whatever? We should probably really measure one day, but it does. When you put it next to the Galaxy, it does seem bigger, and that I think is billed as a 12-inch. Anyway, interesting situations which we're filming today. As of this recording, it is February 7th. This likely won't air to sometime in May because we have so much content out there that's queued up and ready to go. But we had earlier this month 2 feet of snow, 2+ feet of snow, and that was about 2 weeks ago. It's been 40s, rain, 50, hot, in the 30s, above freezing. And this basement, documented in other videos, does have an issue with the grading outside. So we do have some water here, like literally right below the camera. Not where like I need to wade in with waders, but small puddle. And waiting on the video to do. We're in mid process of a video documenting this because I have a wet filter, if you will, coming for my shop vac, so I can just vacuum this out. But I'll show you, which digresses off the video, and I'll get to that in a second. You can kind of see what's going on down here. This is why we keep everything off the ground, and this is the troops that I'm using to help to keep the water. Now, I have seen this water last year before I fixed some drain issues go all the way out there. So the fans, while they're not necessarily keeping up, they're slowing it down. So that's kind of what's going on there. And the funny thing is, I came down to film this fan. What we're about to do is service this Edison or Toastmaster, whatever you want to say. I was going to do this 2 days ago, and then ended up, because we have a carpet down here. I ended up pulling the carpet up. It was just coming out from under the shelf over there. In fact, I'll show you again. I put this toothbrush down to mark it that day, and then clearly blew past it. And so here we are. But the fans have done a nice job. I tried to pick the kind of the more industrial, powerful fans that we have here. And of course, that Hampton Bay is like tops on the list from what we have here. So that day, I kind of pushed this fan off to the side and put some things. I had some things on the floor, but like further away. And even if they get wet, they would be okay. It's like the shop vac, the mini shop vac, not the one I'll use to wet dry. I'll use my full size one. But just some things I threw up all on the workbench because I didn't want to. I didn't have to go through trouble wiping it down and all that stuff. So that is what is going on there, like literally behind the scenes, or yeah, behind the scenes, because you can't see it unless I show you there. All right, so getting to this now, this was the last of a run of like mini box fans that we went on a tear this winter, picking up mini box fans, and it all kind of started with a Galaxy around Christmas time. I got off a marketplace from a really, really nice lady. And then Eddie he wanted a full-size motor Edison, got one with the box. I was able to negotiate for it, got that one with the box. And then I said, well, we have the Edison already with the mini motor, the small motor with the off-white cabinet. Let's grab the one with the faux wood, so we have those variants. And then during all of that, when they were in transit, this one popped up. I never knew there was a Toastmaster variant with white blades, so I'm like, well, we got to have that one. I already put this through the dishwasher, that's why it's off, and it came out immaculate. The plastic on here is high quality, all of these are, but they're also very restrictive, and that's the downside. And plus, they really hide. If you're like me and you like to see your fan in motion, it really hides the performance. So this is a full-size motor version, which I used to think the small ones like, you know, when I got the very first one 2 summers ago, I was like, it's so super cool, like really cool. It's a mini version, but then I always knew the large motor ones existed, and I thought they were like ridiculous, and they are ridiculous. But when you get one in person, they're freaking cool. They're really, really cool. So we do have one window, and I explain it in the other videos that that would make sense to use these in. And well, it's a silly room to be putting it in. Yes, it's the bathroom on the first floor, but it's also the laundry area, so it wouldn't be a bad thing to put it there because we have electricity like near the window, not like you'd have to run it across the sink. So we'll probably rotate these in. I wonder if I could pull this off without pulling that clamp on. The other one that Eddie had, we popped the clamp off. He actually got the blades off while I wasn't present. I was probably upstairs getting something or doing something, and I came back down, and he's like, I got the blades off, Dad. Eddie is not here today. He is in the city. We're not really city people. Every once in a while, he probably gets there more than I do. It's his mother's birthday tomorrow, so he's with his sister celebrating this weekend and some other people. For those who don't know, I am not with his mother. That's why I'm not there. So that would explain that. But let's see. What am I doing? Well, the hammer there. So these motors, if you're familiar with the Edison motors, even Toastmaster, the power cord comes through this, like the motor, right? It doesn't run down to the bottom of the cabinet out. And there's like a grommet there, and you if you put the fan on its backside, you put pressure on that, right? And it's just a weak point that you can fray the wire over time. So that's why I try to put something under the cabinet just to keep it off the ground. All right, so we're gonna get these blades off now. Okay, so these didn't simply come off. So I used a puller, right? I put a puller on here. Hold your jokes. If you follow Jordan's channel, you've heard my name referenced. You've heard something about Ed has mangled blades with his puller. Indecessant Ed, that's me. Yes, I did mangle blades on a rare P48 that is sitting in pieces at Jordan's house. In fact, in his various videos of reorganizing the basement, you can see it. I wouldn't say prominently because it gets kind of buried, but it's there, and we still have to fix it. But I have since perfected kind of my technique thanks to him, and but I figure anytime I pull out a puller, I have to make reference to that because someone's going to take a shot at me anyway. So what I do is, and you might be like, well, why am I listening to you? You're not an expert. You mangle blades. So what I do is, just switching hammers here, I start to crank on it, and then you start to tap it a little bit, and it will come. And I want to back off on this one because the puller's going in too far. Let's see if we have any luck. So sometimes see, it's working. See, sometimes you don't need to, it should come right off now. See? Came right off. So whoa, look at the condition that's in. What I'm about to say is the trick with the puller in the situation with plastic blades is you don't need to use the puller to get it all the way off. You just need to start to move it, and you'll see the shaft will look like it's moving further and further away or down because the blades are coming up. When that starts to happen, back right off the puller, come off with the puller, and then use your hands as you normally would to remove it. Sometimes a light tap, like you don't want to brutalize the thing. A few taps with the hammer and then back it off has broken it loose for me. So that I have learned quite a bit since that day that I mangled those blades. What I really want to show you guys right now is what you saw me or heard me react to. The inside of this motor is gorgeous. I mean, that's the front, so the rear can tell a different story. Nope. Rear is gorgeous as well. Take a look at these windings. The only problem is we have to open it to oil it. Can you see this? Look at those. The other side looks just as good. So as I'm looking at this, I see Eddie's texting me. I acquired him a desk today for his room here because he's been requesting one, and you know, it's one of those things that like I wish he was over so I could, you know, because when I like to do things with him clearly, but it's something for his room. So this, I may just go up to the sink first before I do anything, and then clean it. But we are going to open this bad boy up. All right. I wish he was here to see how clean, how fine those windings look. You know, I was thinking about it the other day. I was thinking, like, what's my favorite, like, motor to work on? And I've done a lot of Lakewoods in the past month. And to the point where I can kind of do them almost blindfolded. You know, getting the blades off, they come off in the same spot. Like, it's just, you know. And then these, I've worked on these for years. And you know, these are different, right? Like, to get these motors out, you know, you obviously got to deal with, you're not really going to totally get them out. I mean, you can, but there's other risks involved, which are the switch. You know, these switches do not go back in really ever. You snap them, right? And you have to, like, tape them up there or something. But I can't say I have a favorite. I'm the least experienced with those plastic Marco motors, but we did a few of those this winter, and I got kind of experienced with that. I don't know. It's probably between this and the Lakewood, the motors in the Lakewood, that are kind of like my favorite. All right, so something to point out with these, and I'm going to bring it closer, and I don't know if my microphone's picking up what's going on upstairs. Someone was vacuuming. Yeah, I see the microphone meters moving. So like you're telling me. I apologize. That should end shortly. It's a good thing this is not an ASMR video because you would hear the vacuuming. All right. So with these motors, notice how there's no nuts on the back of these bolts, right? That's because the front cover is threaded. The rear cover is not threaded. So it is important that you put the covers on the right way. Now, it's not a big deal if you do it the wrong way because you're going to know quickly because these bolts will just fall right through. So what we have to do, in fact, I'm going to take a picture for Eddie. Since he called me, I can say, Eddie, this is what I was doing when you tried calling me. Or not calling me, texting me. All right, so what's interesting is these are really long. These stud bolts that go through here, one, they look like they're new hardware, and they're longer than normal. Because a lot of times when you put these back on, and or you take them off, I should say, and you stick them through the cabinet, there's not a lot of thread left. So this is telling me, because normally these sockets I use right here pop these suckers right off. So I'm going to have to get either a small wrench, which I have over here, or, oh boy, I got to open. If you hear me moaning and groaning, it's because I'm sore. At a active workout week, I ran 8 miles this morning, and I was sore to start, and then felt good for a while. Now I'm kind of stiff again, so it's actually good for me to be up on my feet. All right, so what do we got here? Nope. Nope. That is definitely not going to be it. Nope. And nope. Sorry to make you sit through this. Okay, so went with the socket. I have deep sockets. You know, what's cool is if you work on enough of these things, you start to find some of the manufacturing like differences or tolerances, I should say, because I have certainly run into this where the bolts going through, the motor bolts or whatever you want to call them, are longer like this, but for the most part, at least the fans that I've been working on the past few months, the Edisons, they are not this long. Actually, that's the whole. Yeah, see, that comes out as one piece. There's some dust in there. You know, sometimes it's, you know, I find different levels of work on these things rewarding, etc. For example, sometimes you get a fan that is just like filthy or trashed or whatever you want to say, and you know it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, mainly in the elbow grease department, and then you get it back. It may not be factory, but sometimes it looks factory. Other times it looks way better, like it's like, wow, this is like a presentable fan again. And that's super rewarding. Like when I'm done and I'm showing you guys, oh man, it's cool. And then usually when I turn the camera off, I do leave it on my workbench until I'm ready to work on the next one, because it's kind of like a trophy, right? It's like, I should kind of feature you amongst all the fans, because you know you're the latest to get refurbished or cleaned up and ready to go. Then in other cases, you get fans that you start working on. You're like, whoa, this is in really good shape, and like you're pretty excited because like you have like a really nice fan to begin with. So it comes at all levels. All right, what I'm doing is I think I already have a flat screwdriver out there, but I grabbed this one. So carefully, we want to. Oh, that came off easy. So for those of you who don't know, okay, let's talk about this here. That's a thrust washer right there, so you don't want to necessarily lose that. So this has 2. Looks like 2. I've seen different things over time. Put that down. Okay, so the material that we need to oil, for those of you who've never been into one of these before, or you know you did a search on how to oil a box fan motor, this is wicking material here, and then you can see some degradation in it. It's like felt, right? And it just kind of rots away over time, disappears, disintegrates. So what happens is, and I can see this bearing glistening, which is a really good sign. What you do is you take the oil, I'll show you that process in a minute, and you take the oil and you oil that wicking material, and then as the bearing requires it, it will grab the oil from the wicking material. So when they say fans are permanently lubricated, it's really, you're at, you know, it's infinite, or it's not infinite, it's finite. Okay, so now we want to remove the other cover. Now, what I did not do, I should have done, is typically while the fan motor is running and it's still mounted in there with the blades off, I sand the shaft to remove any like rust or imperfections before I slide it through the bearing. I skipped that step this time, probably because I was distracted by the condition of the windings. Which this will now require me to go upstairs and grab a piece of sandpaper, because I do remember in the last video I discarded my sandpaper saying this will force me to go upstairs and get more sandpaper. So hang on. Okay, so this thing's not in bad shape. Otherwise I probably would have reassembled it and sanded it. Or not resanded it, but just sand it. Yeah, I think we're okay. Okay, we're not bad. I probably will hit it when we, if I remember, hit it when we go to take it apart. Okay, so here we go. Look at the condition that is in. That is worth a picture. Okay. So what is really interesting is this thing didn't have one of these, maybe it's on the other side. Yeah, okay, so there's one of those spacers. We pulled that side out. Now we're going to pull this side out very carefully. Just gently, just spin it. All right. Yeah, I really should have hit that with the sandpaper before we did this, but okay. So you can see the thrust washer there and this piece here. So the fat part goes in first. And we're going to pull this washer, these washers out. Yeah, I see oil on them, which is freaking making me happy. This washer doesn't want to come out. You know what? I'm going to leave it there because it just doesn't, it's moving, but it just doesn't want to come out. Okay. So a little dirty there. I have a little toothbrush, so we're going to go ahead and brush that. You know what? This is interesting. See the different color wires on the winding? I mean, I am wondering two things. One, is that just like what happens in manufacturing? They have different sources of, if you will, materials, and is that what's going on there? Or was this thing rewound at one point? And like, look, was that sprayed on the inside? Because I don't think I've ever seen one that color with that light blue. I mean, it's cool. Whoever did this did a heck of a job. I'm just inspecting it. I mean, he really did. Because I can see. I'm wondering if this was rewound. I don't know. You guys, somebody who knows better than me, let me know. And if a gentleman by the name of Ray is out there, who I met at the winter fan meet, what do you think? If you're watching this video, and Ray, if you are watching, drop me a comment, because I misplaced your business card with your contact information, and I would really like to connect with you. Also get your thoughts on this one in particular. Okay. All right, so all I did was take this toothbrush and just wipe that loose dust off. This side doesn't have it. All right, so now it's oil time, and there's nothing for me to even clean in here. I mean, it's crazy. But this winding down here looks like it is thicker, if you will, than the others. I don't know, but I'm pretty psyched with this thing. All right, so oil time. So let's slide you back. And what I'm going to do, all right, for those of you who have watched, listened to many of my videos, first off, thank you. I super duper appreciate it. For those who have not, you're going to hear my spiel. So for bearing oil, No, they are not a sponsor of the channel, but I use Zoom Spout. If they want to, if Zoom Spout's out there and they would like to send me a case of this stuff, awesome, because I talk about it in every single video, and it's not because I make a dime on it, because I'm just trying to make sure, one, if you're doing this, you use the proper oil, and secondly, what I also like about this is the actual straw. And I also like to suggest tools or products that make your job easier, so having the right tools to do the job. So this is non-detergent oil. That is the key, the absolute key to oiling. So what you want to do is use this, or if you're using an all-in-one, like a 3-in-1 or whatever you call it, make sure it's the blue can, non-detergent. Typically the all-in-one on the back, it has picture fan and some other equipment on the back. Make sure it has that fan there so you know it's safe to use. Also, do not use like something like WD-40 or something like that. Oh my gosh, you'd ruin it so bad. All right, so what we want to do is hit the wicking material. The fact that I could see, so all right, let's back up. One of the things I enjoy about this hobby is kind of playing detective, meaning I like to try to, if I don't know the fan's history, sometimes there's clues, right? Like how it was used, where it was used. You could tell by the kind of dust on it. You could tell the hours based on certain things. You can tell if it was used in a window or not. Like, just, there are clues, right? And this fan is giving me some clues, right? What am I trying to figure out? Was that factory or not? Was this motor rewound? I don't know. Like, was this just some variant? Like somebody on the assembly line was just like extra, like really happy to be there that day and just did a great job. I don't know. But the clue that somebody was in here is that these bearings, especially these washers, has some oil in them. It's been my oil that I could physically see and feel, where usually something this old, even if it has low hours on it, it's going to be pretty dry. So this is kind of telling me somebody has been in here before. And it is also quite possible they replaced those motor bolts because they're longer, although I have seen those in factory fans before. But one of the things, usually these cheap plastic nuts that they're decorative, that go on the front of the motor, or I guess on the motor, on the rear of the fan, but on the motor mounting to the guard or the cabinet. Usually a tall tale sign that someone's in there is those are like one of the first things that get replaced. But those aren't not replaced, which is fine. I could see the wear on them. They're getting old. So yeah, it's so there are signs. I'm not saying somebody definitely went in here and did something. Maybe somebody just came in and oiled it. So what I'm also doing is just putting a few drops like in the bearing. That's why I have the paper towel underneath, because obviously it drips through. I really wish I did. I really wish I did that, because typically then I'd put some oil on it when I thread it back through, but we're fine. We're fine. Okay. So this is a side without threads. So that goes towards the back, right? Okay, we can actually already work to reassemble. So I did take the washer out on this side, so we want to put it back in. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that, but see that? There's some oil on there already. Okay. Now, all right, I'm struggling here because I'm dancing around a puddle on the floor, which I showed you. I guess it's okay because I'm wearing, I'll let you in on a secret. I'm not wearing shoes. I'm wearing like slides with socks on. Very, very much a dad move. But I'm trying to avoid stepping in it, but I guess I can step in it. And I'm trying to just move stuff around here. All right, we don't need this swig of my drink. Okay. So really now what it comes down to is unlike Lakewood or even with the plastic Marco motors, it really doesn't matter what orientation this is. Like for example, Lakewood is because it has oil ports, and then the the connector for the wires like go through the one section. So here it's just a matter of lining up the holes. Now what I try to do with these is, just try to start to get everything together like this. Right. One thing to point out, I did this. This is pretty funny. I think it was in the fall. I was working on a thin-in light. Not, if you follow the channel, not the disaster one that we've had that we've kind of had to shelf, so to speak. One of the daily runners I use in the sunroom with the plastic guard in the front. I was servicing it because it seemed stiff over the summer, but it was fine. So I really serviced it. We oiled it. I don't even know if we varnished the windings, and we'll talk about that. And I wasn't paying attention while I was talking to you good people. And I basically, the orientation of the motor was this way. So when I put it back on, the blades went the other way. So basically I reversed the fan. So I think I caught it. I must have paused the camera to do something, and I caught it, and then I fixed it off camera, and I went back on and I quizzed people. I did something wrong. What was it? So it happens to all of us, but I'm just saying, if you mess up, even if you've done something 100 times, you're going to mess up, and it's just being patient with it. And if you go to undo a mess up, don't rush. Don't rush. I find sometimes when I'm I want to make a video really bad, and I'm short on time, I try to do it fast, and it's actually less enjoyable. All right, so we have to put. Oh, this plastic piece is already here. Actually, it's the thin. Yeah, so it's the thin piece that goes in. All right, so we want to just drop that in. There we go. Okay. So the test that we are lined up with the rear shell. Let's clean some dirt off there. Does it go through? No. So this is kind of where the patience with this is pretty far off. This is where the patience with this comes in. There we go. Okay, so that's lined up. Oh yeah, look at that. Beautiful. Now we put the other side on. Remember, we got to put this on. So did we say? We said that, right? I think so. Okay. So we're going to try to line these up. And you got to kind of be careful that your thrust washers, or your washers don't fall out. Okay. So I'm double checking myself. The threaded side, these are the threaded side. You can tell because they kind of just come out of the metal a little bit. But the other side is perfectly flat. All right. So now, we have to thread it back through that way. So this is where, again, patience comes in. Doesn't this motor look ridiculous, because it's so big? Oh, this. They were having a good day when they manufactured this fan, I'm telling you. the good news is once you get one lined up, this is slightly off. There is it. Yeah, once you get one of these in, the others are lined up by default. There we go. I just want to tighten it down a little bit. We won't tighten it down all the way. But yeah, as I was saying, like, somebody was having a good day at work when they put this fan together. Because sometimes, like, when I'm working on these, I'm like, this seems cheap, you know. And other times, like today, I'm like, you know what, this design makes a lot of sense. You know, in terms of, I should say, some people don't think this design makes sense, actually, because, you know, mounting it into the guard and all that. But in terms of what Edison Toastmaster's intentions were on how to execute this design, this particular example was, they get good grades for the execution because it works. Like, it's not, things aren't falling apart, like coming apart when you're trying to do it. Okay, that one. All right, so now, there's a couple things we're going to do. We're going to tighten down, tighten it down. And you don't have to murder this thing, like, snug. Don't crush it. You know, I'm a strong guy, so it's easy. Like, I naturally want to, like, you know, kill it because it's like, well, one, it's easy for me, and secondly, it's like, well, I don't want it to come off, you know. That used to be my mentality when I was younger. In fact, when I was Eddie's age, my dad, like, we would work on stuff together. You know, we used to spend time working. One of my favorite things to do with my dad was when we would work on, we had this, what was then, which is silly, because this was like the early 90s, we had what we, in 1981, motor from a 1981 lawnmower that was his, but the frame rotted away. When I was in like 6th grade, I went and found another frame, and I like did it all myself, which was cool. So my dad, for safety reasons, wanted to make sure that, like, I did it properly. So we would work on it together, and that was our '57 Chevy. You know what I'm saying? And we used to be tightening things or whatever, and he'd like call me Eddie at the time, and Eddie, you don't you know, you don't need to kill it, easy, you know. All right, so what I'm going to do, is this. I'm going to turn it on. What? Whoa. We're going to turn it on because I'm going to hit it with the sandpaper. Oh, before we do that, so you want to align the shaft and the bearings, right? So this is self-aligning. So what you need to do, you've probably seen others do this. You want to just give it some wax. Because those bearings, if you kind of like work with them and see, they will move. Oh yeah. Now this spun freely to begin with, but there's been times I've, you know, didn't spin totally freely, and I knew I oiled it properly and did the things that we just did here, and then I gave it some wax and it was totally fine. So okay, we're gonna turn it on. Why? Before I bolt everything up, I'm going to use this opportunity to sand that. Bzz. Now, I did this step after the fact. I should have done it before. But it wasn't that bad, so that's why I think I was... Yeah, see? Look at that. Woo! Look at that. Man, this fan is awesome. It was awesome to get my hands on it. One, because I've never seen this variant, and two, sometimes when you get yourself like kind of a more rare variant of something, I don't want to say have to settle, but sometimes you have to settle because it's not in perfect condition. Like for example, I have a metal bladed McGraw Edison, which is like basically around the time of the Eskimos. If you ever see I'm not going to readjust the camera right now. If you ever catch a glimpse of the shelves here, the top middle fan, that is actually a second one I have. But the first one I got like that, looking for that fan for a long, long time. The first one I got, it's rusty, it's crusty. It needs a total like overhaul. But I was just happy to have it, and it does work pretty well. All right. Well, the other thing we're going to do here, but let me go back to that thought. What I'm trying to say is, not only is this a rare one that I came across, it's also in really good shape. So it's kind of a double rewarding. So we're just going to hit this, right? All right. Well, I am going to go up, and I'm just going to let that sit. And I'm going to go up, and I'm going to give the blades the first cleaning in the in the sink. So we'll be right back. All right, so all I did was wash these off in the sink. And I'm telling you, there is a crazy, it's like it's factory. So I'm really wondering if this thing, oh, I have the microphone on me. Hopefully you heard me. I'm really wondering if this thing just has super duper low hours, and it was stored in an environment where the oil didn't dry out over time. I don't know. All right. So I'm going to try to put this up. Wow, that was dumb. We should probably mount the motor back. Did I unplug it at least? Yeah, at least I did that. So I get made fun of by Eddie and others of not unplugging the fan. Like when I do something like turn it on to do some sanding or whatever, they're like, then I go get back into like pulling the motor apart or whatever. They're like, yeah, for safety, I usually leave the fan plugged in as well. I'm like, oops. All right, so I'm just putting the little nuts on to put the fan back in or the motor back on. Okay. All right, let's just give it. So these you really cannot crush because they're plastic. You just want to make sure they're nice. You know, the good thing is you could just go to the hardware store, to the hardware section, and just grab a couple replacement regular steel or metal nuts, you know. Okay, so that's back on. All right, I'm going to get you in a position so you can see what we're doing again. Let me back you out. All right, so what we'll do next is now we're basically just onto the cleaning section. You know, I could see the oil in there, so I was gonna do the same for the rear. No, but I can see the oil, so we're good. I don't want to overdo it. Maybe overdo it? No. Let's put one of these hammers back. You know, this puddle down here is like expanding as we're working. So when I get this done, put the troops back on down here. All right, magic eraser. I use a off-brand called Smile Powo. Literally the word smile and P-O-W-O. Don't know what it means. I got it from Amazon. It was a pack of 100 for like $15. This stuff is amazing. So you just want to, first you want to get it damp with some water, which I did before we started the video. And hear it cleaning? I mean, this stuff is awesome. You can use it on the plastics. It has a minor adhesive in it, or a mild adhesive in it, and it gets those like little stubborn. See that? Like this didn't look like it was really dirty, and then it gets that stuff off. So we'll just hit this. If I'm doing a full-size box fan, I usually end up using 2 of these per fan. And then if something's kind of like still in pretty good shape, you can actually rinse these out. I learned that the hard way. I took them back upstairs. No, I know what it was. I was working on another fan at the sink, and I had these with me, and I kept rinsing it, and I was like, oh, this dirt comes right back out, so I can actually use it longer. So there is some surface rust in here. Oh, yeah. Some surface rust in here, which I don't like, clearly. Oh, boy. I wonder if we were to do this. I typically use Meyer's surface cleaner, multi-surface cleaner, after the fact because, yeah, we're not going to kill ourselves with this. This is probably the part of the fan that is probably the least I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's probably the part of the fan that's has the really the only imperfection. Oh, I'm inhaling that stuff. Ooh, it's not bad. It's just I just got a big whiff of it. All right, so I'm going to put this one off to the side because I don't want to use that now until I rinse it. So I have a fresh one here. Yeah, a little surface rush. So it tells me like it's such a mystery because like everything on this fan says it doesn't have many hours on it. The outside of the cabinet is gorgeous. It's just this bottom piece. You know, and the bummer thing with one of these is, like, you get one that rusts out. Like, there is probably a very, very, I'm losing my words again, a very tedious, tedious is a word I was looking for, tedious way to restore this kind of color cabinet, or this type of cabinet. What I would do if I ran into one of these that was completely shot and needed to be sanded and painted, sand the whole thing down, just dismantle it, sand it down, look for this brown color, right? Hit the whole thing with the brown color, and then this is the tedious part. You probably, it'd be an interesting experiment if you got contact paper that looks similar to this and essentially use it as a wrap and wrap the outside of it. You might be able to pull this look back off and have it look pretty good. It's not something I necessarily want to try. I am not that artsy. Yeah, there's a little rust up there. I am not that artsy crafty, so to speak. All right, so we're going to do the bottom of the cabinet. I'm really happy to have this fan. Like, when I ordered it, I was like, oh my God, because I'm at a point where I'm like, I have to take a break. Because when I get them in, I just don't do like the check. I do a checkout video, as you guys know, if you watch them, and then I basically put them in the what I call the project pile or project palette, and we then do what we're doing here. We service them. We get into them. Some of them need more love than others. Just hit the blades. I'm probably going to make the blades even dirtier, but we're going to hit them with some multi-surface cleaner. So I got to the point where this palette, between going to the fan meet and some other acquisitions, was just, we overflowed onto the floor. Now everything is back on the palette and there's space on the palette because I worked really hard throughout the month of February, even without Eddie here, because we try to do a lot of this together because it's enjoyable for both of us. Worked really hard to get everything back in shape. So like I have empty slots on the palette now, so if I were to get more fans, I could put them on the palette to be serviced. Yeah, so I'm kind of in a holding pattern right now for multiple reasons I won't get into, but in terms of fan acquisitions. Now there's a couple. There's a couple that might break the holding pattern. If I came, well, I should say, if something pops up on Marketplace, it's usually so inexpensive it doesn't really matter, right? And it has to be something if like a Lakewood 223 or something pops up for like $10 or something like that on Marketplace, I'm grabbing it, right? Like the first gen Westinghouse motor Lakewood I grabbed in January, February. That was down the road. That was what, $10, $15. Like I would do that all day long. But I'm talking about something comes up on eBay or whatever. It's got to be something I'm really been after, and it can't cost an arm and a leg. There is there's a Lakewood Deluxe on there, not to be confused with the Kmart Deluxe that I have, but similar concept, except I think it's like the next one up. I want to say it's a P83. It's for like $250, but it is gorgeous. But I'm not in a position to grab it right now. Like a month ago, I probably would have just bought it, because that's something like there's like 20 people watching it, and is it worth that? Probably. Like if I went to a consignment shop, a couple I know, if something like that was there, maybe $200, So, hey, it is rare. For the first time, I feel like rare means actually rare. Okay, we're dragging on here. So the next step is we're gonna put some turtle wax on the cabinet and the blades. So we'll do the blades first. Now, I talk about it in all my videos when I do this. Why do I wax for two reasons? Why do I do it? Okay, one, well, we just talked about that surface rust, right? I try to do this to protect the less than great spray finish on most box fans, right? They just aren't that great. So that's one. Two, the blades, right? Not that I use my blades in like direct sunlight, but they might get hit with sun a little bit here or there. It's to hopefully preserve them. I guess you can add a third. Number three is it helps give it that factory finish, right? Like the Magic Eraser does that on its own. Like it's crazy. Like this. I can feel some imperfections in the metal, but especially on these fake wood ones, for whatever reason, it always seems like there's a little bit of a texture. But most of the fans, especially like the Lakewoods, the Lascos, etc., like when you're done with even just a Magic Erase, it has that new paint feel to it, and then you throw some wax on it. Woo! So sometimes when I'm working on a fan, like it's one that's really messy, like just really dirty, I'll show it to whoever's home and say, "Look at this," and I'm like, "It's really dirty. Whoa, you're gonna clean that, And then I'll say, other than Eddie, because Eddie knows, and I'll say, "Just remember what this looks like." And I come back an hour or so later, and they're like, "That's the same fan." Like, no, whoa, it's brand new. You just made a brand new fan. And it's rewarding. I almost do it. It's almost like I'm fishing for that compliment, but it's just to show that like spend an hour of time, something will last forever, like a fan. All right, so we hit the back. I have to remember, I want to order more Zoom Spout. Unless Zoom Spout, if you're out there, would really love if you were to send the channel, donate a case to the channel. And sponsor a video, that would be great, because that's a product I believe in. I just won't sponsor or allow the channel to be sponsored on just anything, because it has to be a product that I've used, one, and that I feel comfortable using it and talking about it to others. And the products that you see in this video are all just that, right? Now, could I use something other than the products in this video, like instead of Turtle Wax, a different brand? Sure, of course. But I've used turtle wax for years, and I'm definitely a creature of habit. The Myers stuff, I just like the smell of it, and I like that it's not harsh. And then, oh, the windings, I did I did start that. I tend to jump all over the place because I get excited with this stuff. But if we were varnishing the windings, I would recommend a product called Spray On. And no, they don't sponsor the channel either. But I would recommend insulating varnish called Spray On. Get the clear, and you would have to do it in a well ventilated area. I would not take the motor out of the totally out of the cabinet. Instead, I'd bring the cabinet out to the garage or outside, line paper or paper towels on the guard, and protect the cabinet. And then when you spray each winding, unlike spray paint, you want to spray like right on top of it, because if you fog it like this, you're going to just cover everything in insulating varnish and you have a mess. I recommend checking out one of my other videos if you've not done that before. I got to watch other videos. I've watched Jordan do his. That's basically who I've learned from. Watched him do it on video and in real life. And oh, that's too much wax. I don't typically wax on these Edisons or Toastmasters the metal guard, because you can't get the darn wax off, and it's just, you get this wax sitting there and it hardens. It's just really, really difficult. So I have spray painted those guards before when they eventually need it. Yeah, we're getting closer and closer, speaking of, to that metal bladed Edison that I want to tear down and try to refurbish. And that will definitely get painted. Now, in that case, no, that one has the off-white metal guard. So I did a comparison video on the two that I have, the metal bladed Edisons, and they have slightly different color schemes, like different color metal guards, different color handle, different color knob. So we will, I'm just looking over. No, that has the dark guard as well. So, we'll have to match that up. Just get this with another. Just want to make sure this is on there. So I hate this part. What I'm about to do is wax over rust. It's so bad. But we did it. Okay, so the last piece is underneath. Yeah, I've gotten to really enjoy working on these Edisons, and it's wet because it was sitting on the bench here and it's spray cleaner. I've really gotten to enjoy working on these Edisons, and I spent a lot of hours learning and kind of like self-teaching and asking a lot of questions, and now I feel really confident. There's a couple things I'm unable to do, or haven't. I want to say unable to do, is talking about the windings. I've not witnessed anyone rewind a winding, so I don't really know how to do that. But I'm trying to get connected with people who do, so if I need to do that, at least have a source. So there's that. I need to understand how to replace, say if I had to replace the electrical cord on this, how do I use the heat shrink and do that? I need to kind of teach myself how to do that. So there's a couple things, I'm very, very confident about like what I can do or what I've been doing and what I need to learn how to do. Okay, so next, start putting this stuff away. Next, we're gonna put these blades back on. All right. So this has the obvious flat part, very obvious. The full-size Edisons with the translucent blades has a flat part in the shaft, but you can't. It doesn't look like there's a flat part. I've gotten myself into trouble with that, meaning you kind of guess, best you can, and if you guess wrong, you widen that hole, and then that hub starts slipping on the shaft, and it's like the blade starts to slow down, and the fan could potentially overheat. I've learned how to correct that, using a zip tie around the hub because the hub sticks out, and you pull it tight. All right, this goes on nicely. Oh yeah. So we want to get that little clip back on. Where are you? Here you are. All right, so I'm just going to bend this back and put this on. All right, so we got that. All I did was kind of just bend that back on. It's on there. Luckily, the blades don't need that to stay on, but we got it. I bent it back on as best I could without really breaking anything. All right, so now we want to put the guard back on, and if I was doing a full-size fan with plastic guards on both sides, I would probably stop the camera while I do this because it's not the most riveting thing to watch. Anyone can do this. I also typically lay the fan down too, so that, I might as well make it harder on myself. Thank you. Okay, I ended up pausing the camera because someone came to talk to me. And I'm just going to wrap this up. Nice and snug, but not too snug. There we go. These Toastmaster and Edison, again, I talk about how they're restrictive and the drawbacks with them, but I can say this. I never come across anything busted on them ever. So while they get knocked for being restrictive and you can't see the blades, which, I say that too, they really hold up well over the years, and this has like zero yellowing on them, although most people didn't use these fans in the window, right? So there's that. Okay, let me see if I can get to the plug here because I got so much stuff on the bench. The irony is I put this stuff away because that's just how I roll, and then I literally come down less than 24 hours later and take it all back out again to do another video. So all right, we can get to the plug here. And then so here's some startup sounds, if there shall be any. We'll put this stuff away. I really shouldn't be spending time putting stuff away while you're just sitting there, right? Okay, here we go. Let's get ready to fire this sucker up. All right, ready? This is a 3-speed. You see, we're looking through the camera here and you can't see anything. This moves a lot of air. despite the restrictive guard. It's like you can almost hear the air like being restricted. And that's where it sounds like a full-size monster. And this thing's not moving all over the place either. I mean, this is not moving at all, and it's not rattling. Again, somebody at the plant in Boonville, Missouri, back in the 70s, maybe 1980s, somewhere in there, had a good day. It really did. You know, I'm trying to see the spin down here. The spin down's really good. Okay. So let's flip it around. So now you can really kind of see what's going on here. All right, let's I'm gonna move this microphone because all you're gonna hear is wind noise. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So it's so weird for me because I'm used to looking at one of these, whether it's a thin and light or comfort fan, and I always say like where the hub on those fans hugs the outside of the motor. It's almost like a collar, and it's just weird for me to like not see that. It's just so incredible that they put this. I mean, this has got to take a quarter of the guard. I mean, it's just so funny. All right, well, I'm going to say thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for listening to me chat during the video. I love talking with you guys. Feel free to respond to anything I said in the comments, and I'll definitely get back to you. And we can go from there. This is really good timing because I have the low battery, and I need to charge the camera. So comment, like, subscribe, and I'm going to try to leave you with a fan running here. And if we abruptly drop out, it's because my battery went dead, and you guys are great. And we're going to do it on this way so you can see it.